getting that bank account built up before winter. On today's show, welcome to Your Profit. I am your host, certified life and financial coach, Joe Shortridge. Hope you're having a great week. Before we get going with the show, though, like I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Sometimes it's called follow. Hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend about the show. Let's spread the word and leave a positive rating review on the show also, please. All right. So I know it's the middle of summer, and today I'm recording this. It is June 26th. It's like 90 degrees outside, but I want to talk about some stuff that we can do for the winter to save some money. But I also want to talk to you about finding money that you don't know you have. Okay. There's several different ways, but there's a lot of things that you're doing during the week that you're spending money on that you really don't need to. Okay. You can really cut back. So I want to challenge you before winter. Let's see how much money we can get in that bank account. Now's the time. Have a few months to work on it. So basically, I'm calling this, I just want you to build up your bank account before winter. And then there's some things that I want you to do during the winter to save money. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first off, I know I talked about this a while ago, and I think it was like 2 years ago, but there's certain things that you're doing where you can cut it out or change the way you do it to put some extra money in your pocket and in your bank account. One of the big things when I was going to work, I don't do this anymore, but for years I was going to work and I would always stop at the carryout and get 2 pops and a honey bun. I would drink the pops during the day, have the honey bun at, either first thing when I'm in the morning, or I would save it for later. But basically I would buy 2 pops and a honey bun. I don't drink coffee, but people buy coffee in the morning also. So let's look at some numbers. Just by buying two 20-ounce bottles of pop and a honey bun, how much money I was spending on that. Okay, so you're looking at anywhere from a 225 to 350 per bottle. So I was probably paying around 225 or so back then, but I'm going to use the prices as 250 or 350 for a bottle. So at 250, buying 2 pops and a honey bun every day. The pops alone, that's $5 a day, obviously. So you're looking at $25 a week that you're spending just in pop in the morning. That adds up to $1,300 a year. Okay, so these are big numbers. They add up quick. I was super surprised when I started looking at this. The honey bun, you're spending anywhere from $1 to $1.50. And I think the honey buns themselves are $1.50, so that's what I went with. So you're spending on a honey bun $7.50 a month, $7.50 a week. That comes out to $390 a year that you're spending just on a honey bun. Comes out for the pop and the honey buns, it comes out to $1,690 a year that you're spending. I mean, this stuff adds up quick. If you start looking into your budget, and I recommend that you do a budget, but if you start looking at where your money's going, you'd be surprised at, just the little things I'm talking. I'm not talking huge savings here. I'm talking little. Just like we say, constant, never ending improvement. The little things that add up to a lot. Okay, so like I said, I don't drink coffee, but I looked into coffee at Starbucks. If you stop at Starbucks in Toledo, you're looking at $6.95 for a coffee in the morning. Some places are cheaper, but this I just looked up for Toledo, $6.95 for a coffee. Okay, so that is $33.25 a week that you're spending on coffee. That comes out to $1,729 a year just in coffee. Add on to that some donuts, that's going to add up too. So little things like that, just finding little things. Um, you can find different ways to have the same thing. It's just you have to plan ahead. Okay. So what I would recommend, if you still want to have two pops, I'm just going to use pops for an example, but or even coffee, you could stop at Circle K in the morning. I believe their coffee was $1.50. Still it adds up, but that's a lot better than going to, one of your like Starbucks or something. And like I was in Speedway and they have a whole rack of different flavors that you can add to it. So maybe you save money that way. But what I recommend is going to your grocery store, like Kroger's or that, and seeing what they have. I was just there and Kroger's was running an unbelievable deal. I know this deal isn't like this all the time, but it was like buy one, get three free or something like that. It was crazy. They must have had extra stock they want to get rid of or something. But if you go to Kroger's or whatever stores close to you, look for the deals. You can get a 12 pack of Pepsi for probably $2.99, $3.99, and it'll save you a ton of money in the long run. You just have to plan ahead, just like packing your lunch instead of going out to eat every day. That adds up a lot quicker. Unfortunately, I didn't add it up here in my notes in front of me, but think about how much you're spending on that. And this is what I want you to do. I mean, I want you to write out your budget. And even if you want to do a daily or a weekly, I don't want to say budget because you don't want to do a weekly budget. You want to do a monthly budget, but maybe just a paper to keep track of what you're spending. Try that someday. Write down every single thing you spend money on during the day and see how fast it adds up. And where can you save money by doing it a different way? Just like instead of stopping at the gas station on the way to work, go to Kroger's the night before and get enough pop for the whole week. For one, you're not wasting time going to the store every morning. So you got an extra few minutes every morning. And two, you're not spending that money. If you have to drink coffee, go buy a coffee maker, make it at home. I know it's not as convenient, but you're going to save a ton of money. Does your work have coffee there? If it's not the right flavor, that go to Kroger's and buy the right flavor, or buy those additives that you can buy to flavor your coffee different ways. There's a way to save money. And that's the thing I want you to do before the wintertime. I want you to really think about the different ways that you can save money. Now, I went up on ChatGTP and let me bring those notes up here. And I asked it, different ways to save money that people don't normally think about. One of the things that it comes up with first is audit your subscriptions. See what you belong to. Okay, this is a good thing to do anyways, just so that you're not, part of a website that you don't even look at. I have a horrible memory. Okay. So I have all my passwords. I've got the websites and the passwords all typed up so that when I go to these websites, I can see what my password is. What I did was I went through all those websites and logged into them. And I found that I was still subscribed to a couple of them. One was $3 a month. The other was, I think, $7 a month that I was spending that I didn't even realize I was spending. So audit your subscriptions. Go through and see if you still belong to anything that are auto drafting out of your account. And you may not see it because they might do it once a year, but get in there. And if you don't even go to these websites, go on there and unsubscribe, get your name out of there. Now, there is a company, I think it's called Delete Me, that will do that for you. They'll go through and they'll see all the subscriptions you belong to, and they'll delete you all from the ones that you don't actively use. Okay, like me, I still use DDPY Yoga. I belong to that app. That comes out, I think, every 3 months. I pay on it, but I know about that, and it's something I use, so that's why I still belong to it. But really, get into your subscriptions, see what you have, and make sure that you're not paying for stuff you don't use. Another thing is switch to automatic billing. This is great. Like my phone bill, I went to auto draft on my phone bill. Now I still check it and I still, can say okay, yes or no, but it automatically deducts the payment out of my checking account. And by doing that, I save money. Okay, so I save money every month by doing that. You don't have to do that on everything, but I would look into that also. And like your paychecks, I think pretty much everybody's going to direct deposit now. But if your company still gives you a physical check, see if they offer direct deposit. You'd be surprised how much money you're going to save just by that, because the money's not in your hand. Plus, you're saving time, gas, all that stuff. Use your library card. Now, a lot of people will buy books and read them, which I recommend. I recommend you buy my book, The 14-Day Morning Affirmation Transformation. The link is in the show notes. Pick it up on Amazon. It's $12. It's a book that will change your life. But get a library card. The libraries are still out there and they have everything. I put out a show a while ago, and I probably should do it again, about how you can learn anything from a library for free instead of going to college. You can learn anything at the library. Now people use YouTube, but if you want a good education and you have no money to spend on it, go to the library. Granted, you're not going to get into, okay, like a doctor or stuff like that. You got to take tests, all that, but it's a good booster and you'll learn a lot more for free. So use the library card. Don't buy these books online. Read them and then let them sit on the shelf and decay away. There's also people that have book clubs and they swap books. So check on that if you're a reader and you spend money on books. Bundle your errands. This is a big one. It's just like doing your to-do list. Figure out what you need to get done during the week. Fill that out and say, I'm going to have to do this week. But yet I'm driving right past it. So why don't I just do it together? Saves you on money, saves you on gas, stuff like that. And another thing too is, this may sound weird, but empty your trunk. Get your junk out of your trunk. You're weighing down your car, which uses up more gas. Now, granted, you probably won't notice it, but it actually does. If you get that extra weight out of the car, you're going to burn less gas. It all helps. You never know. It all helps. If you have to do projects around the house and you can do them yourself, obviously. And if you don't have a tool, borrow it from someone, find a family member, but give it back. Okay. That's the problem, is people will borrow tools, and it's just weird. I got my drill right next to me here because I was working on the house, but if you don't have a drill, borrow one, but make sure you give it back in a timely manner, because if you don't give it back, then that person's not going to help you out again. So, do that. Use cash. Cash is king. We know that. There are some places that give you discounts for cash, because if you pay with your credit card or your debit card, they're going to charge you a service fee. So check on that. Those add up. This is another one. And I just sold my stereo system I had, but there's a thing called phantom electricity. Okay. And what this is this is all the stuff you have plugged in. The stereo in my living room, I've got the big old 1980s stereo system that I haven't listened to in so long. And I still have the subwoofer plugged in. I got the stereo plugged in. I've got the DVR VCR plugged in, which I haven't used in probably 10 years. I have all that plugged in, and that's drawing electricity out of the house. Think about how much electricity that actually used in those years that I didn't use the thing. But since then, I just gave it away. I put an ad out saying, free stereo system, speakers, everything. Got those out of the house because I don't use them. The only thing I was using the speakers for is a place to put stuff, So I'm cleaning out the house. I did give those away. I didn't sell them. I could have sold it, but I was like, you know what? it's a very niche market, and I don't want to sit on it for a long time and then finally get rid of it. I just got rid of it. But that's another thing too. We're talking about finding ways to save money, but you've got a lot of money in your closets. Sell clothing, sell whatever you don't use. Go out in the shed. I just did this. I'm organizing my shed. I found that I've got jars of nuts and bolts that I haven't used. So my sister's having a garage sale. I'm going to throw them in the garage sale for $5 a bottle. And they're big bottles of, you know, nuts and bolts. If I sell them, I sell them. If I don't, I'll donate them to someone. You know, I know a guy at work. He took the last set I bought or that I gave him. I had a bunch of bolts and nuts that I would never use. And I'm like, do you want these? He's like, yeah. And he used them all already. So I'm going to try selling them first. So that's what you can do. Go into your closet, find things you have to sell. Granted, it's not really what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is finding ways to save money on things you're already doing. But in a way, you're making money on that. And that's our big thing is before wintertime, I want you to build up that bank account with all this extra stuff, these little things, constant, never ending improvement, the little things that get you up to the big things. And you'll be surprised how fast this money stuff adds up when you're doing other things like phantom electricity. If you have appliances that you haven't used, unplug them. Especially nowadays, everything has a computer in it. Everything's drawing electricity. It's not much, but it adds up. Like I said, think about my stereo system. I had the stereo plugged in. I had the subwoofer plugged in. I had the DVR, VCR plugged in, which, like I said, I haven't used in years, but yet they're drawing electricity because they're plugged in. So check those. That's a big one. Repurpose leftovers. You know, if you go to the restaurant, which I don't recommend going to restaurants right now because we're trying to save money, but if you have leftovers, don't throw them out. Just have them. Leftovers, leave them in the fridge for about 3 days. I'm thinking maybe less. You know, if you have leftovers, eat them the next day. And I don't recommend leaving anything in the fridge for over like 3 days because then you never know if it's good or bad. Ask for discounts. Okay, you're going to these places and you're spending money at these places. Ask for discounts. I know Dave Ramsey talks about cash is king. He walks into a place and his example is about buying a washer and dryer for his wife. And he went up and he's like, well, how much is the scratch and dent and open box discount? You know, he's got his money in his hand. He's waving it. He's like, what do I get? You know, what kind of discount you're going to give me? Because if they don't give it to you, the person down the street will. And if you do need appliances or stuff like that, where if you're getting out of debt right now, maybe that's something you don't want to look at, but always look for the scratch and dent stuff. And my stereo is a good example. When I bought my stereo 1,000 years ago, I went in and it was a display model, and they were selling the display model because they were getting rid of you know, that brand or whatever. And I remember the display model was like a quarter of the price because it was display, and I got it for a great deal. So that's the kind of things you want to look at. Go into the clearance aisle. Go to the clearance sections. Find out where your clearance sections are in the stores you go to. Okay. Let's talk about clothing. You got to buy clothing, right? I know this may sound weird, but you can go to like Goodwill and places like that. I've mentioned it before, and I mentioned, you know, my sister resells clothing, and one of the places besides the factory outlets and the actual factories that we go to, it's really bizarre when we're on the road with the 222 Paranormal podcast. We stop at a lot of places, and we stop at some places that actually make the clothing or sell the clothing to the retailers. And Jen, being a reseller, she gets in there and gets good deals. But one of the places we go to is Goodwill. Now, I did notice the prices are starting to creep up a little bit at Goodwill. So maybe try like Salvation Army or places like that. But you can find really nice stuff. If you need clothing, you can find really nice stuff at Goodwill in that. And the only time that you know it's used is when you buy it, right? So that's another place you can squeeze a little bit of money out of your budget. And, you know, like I said, ask for discounts. A lot of places will not offer discounts, but they have them. Senior discounts, AAA members, stuff like that. Ask them. What are they going to do? Say no? Who cares? But if you can go to a dinner at a restaurant, like I said, I don't recommend you go to restaurants right now. You can later, but we're trying to get out of debt. We're trying to save money. But if you do, ask them, do you offer senior discounts, stuff like that? And there's a lot of places that offer that also. I know Kroger has senior nights where they offer discounts for seniors. So never know. Okay. What's some other things I have down here? This is another big one. And I do this. Use reusable water bottles, the stainless steel bottles. Use those. A lot of people have their whether the Stanleys. A lot of people use the Stanleys. And I have stainless steel mugs that I use, the big bottles. And I have a Brita water filter. So I fill up the Brita out of my sink. It filters the water. I pour it in the bottle and I have cold water to drink. I'm not buying bottled water, which can get expensive. You know, if you're buying bottled water at the gas station, just like buying pop, it gets expensive. So that's a good one. This one here I don't know about, so I'm just going to mention it, but switch to a prepaid phone plan. I don't have that, but maybe you can get discounts on that and squeeze a little bit more money out of that if you don't have a monthly payment. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know about that. So don't quote me on this one, but it's something to look into. Another thing is have a no spend weekend. Take a weekend when you don't spend any money. It'll be a challenge, I know, but it's another way to squeeze some money out of your um of your it's another way to squeeze money out of your budget. Okay. This is the kind of things we're doing. I don't want you to think about, well, I'm not paying this bill or not doing that. No, I'm talking about changing the way that you do things to get a little bit of money out of here, a little bit of money out of here, a little bit of money out of here. It all adds up. Now, like I said, I'm recording this on 6/26. Like I said, it's 90 degrees outside and it's pretty hot in the studio here, but I turned the fan off so that you don't hear it in the microphone. But I want you to think about the wintertime. Now is the time to start thinking about the wintertime. The wintertime is when you're going to spend the most money on energy bills. Lights are on longer, the furnace is going constantly, stuff like that. So I want you to start thinking about ways that you can save money by knocking down your electricity bill and stuff like that. This all goes along with getting your house ready for winter. Now, if you get a hold of your electric provider, whether it's First Energy or someone like that, see if they have these kits. Okay. They offer kits that they give away for free that have energy saving light bulbs in it. They have like a wrap to go around your pipes. They have plastic for the windows, stuff like that. They have a kits that are made to cut down your energy bills. Okay, they want you to lower that usage anyways because it's not so much a strain on the system. So that's why they do this. Plus, I think the government says, you got to do it. But anyhow, I want you to go around the house and figure out where you can save money. One big one is changing out your light bulbs to all LED bulbs. And if you do, I recommend getting what's called daylight bulbs. These are 2500 Kelvin. And if you look on the box, you can see it says 2500 Kelvin. It's more of a blue light, but it's a good color for the house. It's not the dim yellowish color that you have in light bulbs. It's a more of a vibrant bluish, and it brightens up the rooms a lot better. So I recommend changing out all your light bulbs. You will be surprised just if you do that, how much money you're going to save every month. Okay. Another thing is, and I know it looks like crap, but put plastic on the windows. I do it, even though It looks like crap. It does. It's you can like I pull up to my house when I have the plastic on the windows, you can see it from the outside, stuff like that. But if you use the kind that melt a little bit when you use your hair dryer on it, it tightens it up. Sometimes you can't tell that it has plastic on it. I know the one window that I have in the kitchen, I did that too, and you can't even see the plastic. So if you do it right, you won't see it. But it saves you a ton of money. I was so surprised when I put the plastic on the window for the first time, how much air was coming through that window because they're old windows. There's gaps in there. Another thing is I want you to go around your house. Now, you probably won't be able to do it until it gets cold out or there's services, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But I want you to find leaks. Okay. One of the biggest leaks I had, my bedroom was always cold. And I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I put the plastic over the windows. All did everything until one day I noticed that there's a gap where the carpet meets the wall. There was a gap. I put my hand down there. I could feel air coming out of it because my house is on a crawl space. I don't have a basement, but it's on a crawl space. And if you live in a mobile home, those are big too. I mean, because the air goes underneath the house. But with mine, my house has a crawl space and I have to keep these vents open so that the moisture doesn't build up under the house. So I put my hand out and I could feel cold air coming out. It was like having a 1 foot hole in my wall. That's how much air was coming through, and my room was freezing. So I went over to Lowe's and I got some wood trim and I put the wood trim down and against the wall and sealed that leak. That saved, oh man, I tell you, the next day I went in my room and it was the same temperature as the rest of the house. Another thing is, I know you can't see it, but there's a window behind me. And around that window, I could feel air coming in. There were leaks around the window where the trim was. So I got in there with caulking and all that, and I sealed all that up. So what you want to do is you want to find out where your house is leaking. And every house leaks, you'll find it. The outlets on the outside walls, they have an insulation kit that you can buy that you take the cover off, you put the insulation in, and then you put the cover on and it seals that. Air comes through the plugs. That's a leak. That's going to raise your energy bill. So there's companies out there. And like I say, you can go to your company that you get your electricity from and ask them if they have a kit to do your winter energy saving kit or whatever. Okay. But there's companies out there that will come out to your house. And what they do is they close all the windows and they close the one door. And in the other door, they put like a big seal with a vacuum and they suck the air out of your house. And then they go on around and check for leaks. Anytime there's a leak, they mark it. And then later they'll either the company will fix it or they have you fix it. And those usually run anywhere for $100 to $350, depending on where you get them and what company. But I recommend doing it because you'll find leaks that you had no idea were even there. Another leak that I found was on my tub where the shower, enclosure meets the tub. There was air coming through there. Not a lot, but it adds up. These are things we're squeezing money out of all these little places to build to a bigger thing. So that's something I want you to do. I want you to go around your house, find the leaks. And if you do it yourself without a company coming in and sucking the air out of your house, it's going to be hard till the winter time, but you can be ready for it. You can do the other things and then do that once the weather goes down and you can feel the cold air coming in. So there's a lot of things that you can do to squeeze money out of your budget that you're already spending money on. But if you just change up a little bit, you can save a lot of money. I mean, like I said, buying coffee, that blew my mind when I looked how much a coffee cost in the morning. And it might be different for different places. It might be different for the different sizes of coffee too. I just looked it up and it came up with $6.95. I couldn't believe it. I'm glad I don't have to drink coffee. But That added up to $1,700 a year on coffee. Brew it yourself, if you have to have it. And like I said, I know that creamer has different flavors you can buy. That if you don't like a flavor, you can add different flavors. You get pumpkin spice or whatever all year round, but just do it things a little different. Go to Kroger's. Now, there's another place, and I didn't like this place at first. I thought I am not going there. That's a junky place. It's called Aldi's, and they're all over the country now. But I always refused to go to Aldi's because I just figured it was just crap. Until I started going there, and I'm like, oh, I'm buying the same stuff that I buy at Kroger's for half or even more. I'm saving half or even saving more than over half on the same exact stuff that I'm buying at Kroger's. So shop around. Join the rewards programs. Now, this, like I said, this is where you got to be careful because you're joining more stuff. I hate having to put the apps on the phone and all that. But there's different ways that you can save money on that. I haven't got any coupons from Kroger in a long time. So I think it's all online now. But if you're going to buy something, just check and see if they have it online. Then you just add it to your card so that when you check out, you get those discounts. So, it's like couponing without the coupons. That's a big way to save money. But go to these places like Aldi's and check it out. Take what you normally buy from Kroger's or Piggly Wiggly or places like that and buy them from there and see the difference. Now, some things have different names. I noticed that, but it's the same thing. And you're going to save a ton of money. And that's our goal. Like I said 4 or 5 times in this episode, I said it over and over, but that's our goal for this episode is find all the little ways you can save money, and it adds up big time. You'd be surprised how much money you're going to save at the end of the year just by doing this. So try it out. What do you got to lose? You're just going to gain more money in your wallet, more money in your bank account, and track it, see how it does. Get on a budget. You have to get on a budget, and getting on a budget will actually make it feel like you've got a raise because you're going to be telling your money where to go instead of it going wherever it wants. So that's a big thing. You have to be on a budget. I know it sucks and it is hard. Doing a budget is hard, but it's going to take you about 90 days to get it right. So basically 3 months before you get it right or righter. And it's always going to change because we change every month, but there's certain things you're going to spend money on and you're going to say, wait a minute, why go buy a pair of jeans for $40 when I can go to Goodwill and find the exact same jeans for $5 or shirts? I was surprised. Just like anything else, I was like, wait a minute, I'll go to Goodwill to buy clothes. Aren't they dirty and stained and have holes in them and stuff? But I was shocked. They have really nice clothes in some of these. You have to look through them to find the nice ones. Yeah. But one of the companies that I found was, what's it called? My mind just went blank when I was thinking this, but I can't remember. But it's men's dress clothing, and there's always a lot of them there, and they're really nice. Apartment 9, I think it's called. They're really nice clothes. And look them over, of course. If you find a shirt or jeans that you like, take them out and go through them, look at them over really nice, take your time, and you'd be surprised at what you find. I know, like I said, from doing stuff with Jen, she finds high-end clothes. Oh, excuse me. She finds high-end clothing and she's paying low prices for them. So anyways, that's what I'm saying. Find the different ways. It may be a little weird at first. You may be, thinking, well, why am I going into this place or that? But look for the deals. Ask for the deals. Ask if they offer senior discounts, stuff like that. Ask for the deals. Even if you are just going someplace, like even hotels, if you have to stay in a hotel sometime, they all have discounts. So ask. What are they going to say no? So, anyways, that's the ways that we can squeeze just a little bit of money out of every place and it adds up. And, when, like I said, $1,700 a year for coffee, $1,600. Okay. So if you just save those two, that's almost what? 3, 4 grand, almost 4 grand just in savings there alone. So, anyhow, that's what I got for you this week. I just wanted to bring it up again. Like I said, I said this exact show probably 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and it's something you want to look at. Get prepared. Winter is coming. Your electricity bill is going to go sky high because your furnace is going to be running overboard. Your lights are all going to be on in the house. Get prepared. Check with your electrical provider and see if they offer these kits because it's free. They'll give you light bulbs. They'll give you a water heater blanket, which lots of water heaters nowadays don't need it, but hey, why not? Any protection is better. They'll give you the tubes to go over the pipes. Think about that. Let's say you take a shower. If your pipes are going under your house, the water in those pipes are cooling down while they're getting to the shower because it's cold under the house and they might freeze. So check and, get those wraps for those pipes, stuff like that. Find all those leaks in the house. Go around your house. If you find the leaks, which like I say, you probably won't be able to do till wintertime unless you get a company to come in. And I did look, and in my notes here, I have is it Sunlight Energy Solutions is one of the companies that offers these energy audits. Check them out. You might be able to save some money that way. Go on their website, but I'm sure there's other ones. And have an energy audit done on your house. You'd be surprised at the places that are leaking. Like I said, around this window, there was air coming in. I couldn't believe it when I found on the floor between the rug, the carpet, and the wall, there was a big gap. And you won't believe how much air was coming through there. That's why my bedroom was always ice cold. And I couldn't figure out why. I just figured that because it was at the end of the house, the heating ducts, didn't pump enough of heat in there or whatever, but it wasn't. It was a gap all around, which, like I say, was like having a 1 foot hole in the wall. It's like leaving a window open all winter, So anyways, that's what I got for you this week. Start looking at the different things that you buy. See if you can buy them other places, save some money, do a little bit of research, and let's build that bank account up. All right. Thanks for listening this week. Like I said, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps out a lot. I need the subscriptions because the algorithm has changed, all that jazz. Tell a friend about the show and check out the show notes. I put links in the show notes to my book. I also put links to Jen's Poshmark page if you're looking for clothing at really good deals. She has like very high-end clothing, super cheap because she gets it at a low price. So she sells it at a low price, so it's quick turnover. That's the way you make money online is quick turnover. So anyways, check out the show notes. Tell a friend about the show. Have a great week. Listen to last week's show if you haven't done it. And I will talk to you next week. Goodbye.